taste in mine this time.
Hello. Welcome back to I Cast Fish's Mockery. I'm Matt.
I'm Larry.
Don't steal my name. You can't just take my name. First thing you do and you like switch up the names. Look, okay, listen. So, I'm Larry.
I'm Austin.
We're getting there. Okay. Now, I know that this episode is off to a sort of a slow start, like a rocky beginning here, but that's okay.
We should start over.
Okay. Let me begin it. Hello and welcome cast to what do you
All right.
That one was on purpose. I did that on purpose, guys. I'm just goofing with you. Welcome back to I Cast Fish's Mockery. I'm Austin.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Austin. Wait. Do I have to say it twice? Is that part of it?
I think so.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, now that everyone clearly knows who I am and maybe knows who you are, we can begin. That's actually what I want to talk about today is something near and dear to my heart, which is combat. I want to talk about fighting.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So here's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing in a D&D campaign with other people and you get into a big old fight, that's fun. You know what's not fun? Not knowing what you should do in a fight. You get into the fight and you're like, all right, I've got these spells and I've got some like good buffs. I've got some good, like we could retreat. You know, I've got stuff that'll help us get away. I've got some good attacks. But what should I use? Have you ever been there before? I'm going to say maybe not.
No, my problems in combat have been a little different than that.
Tell me about your problems.
Well, okay, so as Saphed,
right,
like as a player,
right.
First off,
and Saphed's
a monk. Yeah, sixth
so
level now.
Where this is going?
We haven't played at 6th level yet,
yeah.
But so really, I've only had combat experience through 5th level with the monk so far. I'll say that more often than not, I look at my abilities and I'm like, I got nothing. I can punch him, you know,
yep.
and that's about it. I often forget that because I picked half elf drow that I have spells.
Oh right, yeah.
I have 2, but darkness is one of them, and that could be really useful.
Yes.
Fairy fire is the other one, and that could actually be even more useful.
Does fairy fire makes stuff glow?
Yeah, it if they fail their save, you have advantage while they're glowing. Yeah, and they don't gain any benefit from being invisible or anything like that. Too.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's extremely helpful for Saphed, yeah.
Right.
I mean, like advantage on multiple attacks is like guaranteed. You're probably going to get a crit every turn.
That may or may not be the reason why I picked half elf drow as Saphed's race, but it also has some cool story implications too. But I was being very practical when I made Saphed's character because based on the way Paul described the campaign he wanted to run, I figured we were going to be doing a lot of fighting.
I did not plan for any fighting. Well, I did quite the opposite, and because I heard his description and I was like, all right, so it's kind of like we're gonna have to think about it. It's puzzly. We're gonna have to think about stuff.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I got from his description.
All he told me about it was basically a gladiatorial arena.
He didn't tell us the same thing.
No. What did he tell you?
I seem to remember him saying that it was something like puzzle based.
Well, he definitely said something about a dream.
Yeah.
And he told us...
Maybe I stopped listening after that, and I was just like, all right, I kind of get the...
Yeah, I kind of get how that works. Well, he said that it was like something to do with the Kalishtar, so we couldn't be a Kalishtar race. Or things related to that.
I didn't hear that part. I just didn't choose one by chance.
Well, okay, I sort of pieced that together because he said dreams, and I just know that that's their thing is dream stuff. The Kalishtar are all about that.
Yeah.
And then when I was making my character, I asked him if there was anything in particular that he wanted, and he just asked me what race I was going to be, and I assumed that he was asking me that to make sure it wasn't a Kalishtar. That's kind of what I was picking up. I really assumed a lot of things about that. I didn't really, I guess I don't really know. But I imagine that figuring out what you should be doing in combat is probably more of a problem for spellcasters.
Yeah, I would say it is. Mostly just because they have different uses for their spells. Like you have different categories of thing. Whereas if you're, playing a barbarian or something, your attacks are all attacks. You're choosing to slash or bludgeon or, I don't know, hit somebody with a fire sword, which is maybe fire damage. I don't know.
Sure.
You're doing something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
Whereas, and then that's positioning. So you have to get in the right spot and hit somebody, and that's your deal.
Yeah.
Spellcasters, the spot you're in, you have more options. So your movement is less important. But then the things that you do when you get there are important. And so here's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
All right. So I play a lot of Magic the Gathering. That's not true. I've never played it.
I've played it a handful of times.
Right. However, I am interested in game design.
Yes, you are.
And did a lot of it in college.
Mm-hmm.
I almost got a minor in game design. I was one class away.
Ooh,
and
nice.
I just was like, no, I'm not going to do that class.
I almost got a minor in Spanish. I was also one class away.
I forgot. How's your Spanish?
I don't know any.
That's how I feel about game development, at least. Yeah. Oh, it was a game development minor.
I feel like
my final project was a game. I made a video game for my senior project.
Wait, maybe this is similar because I feel like I would know Spanish.
Yeah.
And probably still could know Spanish.
Yeah.
If I just went to a Spanish-speaking country and was just there for a month.
Oh, you'd pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if it's as easy to learn, because the only other languages I've tried are Japanese, Chinese, Mandarin specifically.
Yep.
And Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And if Spanish is close to as easy as Italian, I think Italian might be the easiest language.
I'm not sure.
In the universe.
They're both Romance languages, so there's a lot of overlap between Italian and Spanish. Yeah.
Italian, though, like literally, I'm not good at speaking Italian. Like now, I don't remember really any. I just learned it to go to Rome for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normal stuff. But like I couldn't converse in Italian after learning it for like a month or two on my own. But I could understand a lot.
Yeah.
I could read a whole lot. Reading it was really easy. If somebody wrote something down, I would know what it said. Like I could understand most things. It was almost like reading Latin or Greek in a textbook or something, like the Latin or Greek name of something, and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of get what that is. That's how all of Italian is.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, there are some tricky words because they're like different roots and stuff, but
I've never been to a Spanish-speaking country, but I imagine it would be the same. Oh man, I don't know if I ever told you this. I actually did almost go to Chile, for a summer. The one big thing that stopped me. This is actually kind of stupid because I really should have done it.
Yeah.
It was basically taken care of. Like,
wait, was it a girl?
It would have been all paid for. No.
Oh, okay.
That would be like me, but that's not what happened. The thing that stopped me is my favorite season of the year is the summer. I like it when it's hot.
Yeah.
And because I was going over the summer and it was in South America, it would have been winter there, and I would have missed summer completely.
You know what?
No warm weather.
Listen, I did a research project over the summer one year. Except I didn't really do it very well.
Okay.
Like I didn't get any results. I didn't finish the project.
That's rough. Yeah. When that happens.
Because it turned out I absolutely needed the summer off. well, because I was working full time in college and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, sure, yeah, I'll do it. But no, it turned out that I could not handle continuing schoolwork over the summer. I'm glad I didn't try to take any summer classes because they were very expensive.
Yeah.
At my college.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very fortunate in that avenue, but
yeah. Yep. Anyway, so Magic the Gathering.
yes.
The reason we're talking about it is because of a principle. Is it not principle? Anyway, it's principles of deck building. All right. I know that this sounds like totally out of left field if we're talking about combat in D&D and then Magic the Gathering deck building. But just hear me out, okay? Just listen.
Nope.
Glue those ears back on.
Not listening to you.
Okay, fine.
You can tell the audience, but I'm not going to be here for it.
All right. So there are different types of deck in Magic the Gathering. And when I say different types, I don't mean, there's the blue cards,
the white
the
deck,
white cards.
black deck. Yeah.
That's not important right
Mhm.
now. I'm talking about the different archetypes of decks, which I have listed here on the computer screen for us to look at.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So these archetypes they're called aggro,
Mhm.
control, combo, and midrange. So here's how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Some decks are built in such a way that you try to get out real strong creatures super fast and crush the other person. Now, this applies actually to any type of card game. Like not any type of card. It doesn't work on Uno.
Yeah.
All right. But,
Yeah.
these types of card games.
Right. Well, like the best one, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Yep. This absolutely applies to Yu-Gi-Oh!
I'm just kidding, by the way. I don't actually think Yu-Gi-Oh is the best one, but I played a lot of it as a kid. Continue.
I didn't get how to play it as a kid, so I just tried to play it, but I don't think I did it right.
Continue.
Okay. So anyway, these deck archetypes, the way that they work is, man, we lost everybody who plays Magic. They're not listening anymore. They're like, I get this.
They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear two people who've basically never played it talk about it.
No. But so I have played other card games, and I've seen these archetypes. And
yes,
guess what?
Mm-hmm.
They apply in real fighting too.
Yeah, absolutely, they do.
So the aggro type is actually, if you look at a young boxer, this is their strategy.
Yeah.
All right. So they're going to come out the gate hitting as hard and fast as they can and hope to down you in the first 2 rounds. And they're going to expend all of their energy doing that.
Yeah.
And if you're not down, well, now they have a fight on their hands.
Yeah, and now they're tired. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And that's how these aggro decks work. They're going to send out their best creatures right away as quick as they can and
Mhm.
try to just take you out in a few turns. And that's, it's a valid strategy, whatever. The next one, control, does basically the opposite of that. It tries to not present any threats, because if you present a threat, then the other person actually, they can respond to it.
Mhm.
And that means that their cards are efficacious, and you don't want that. You want them wasting cards for little tiny things, right? Like no advantage gained from whatever they've got.
Mhm.
So the control deck is going to like slowly build up. And then by the end of the game, they're going to have such an advantage that the other person can't come back.
Mhm.
That's their goal, is to just make it so the other person basically can't aggro, right? Like that's, the idea there. And I mean, that's going to be the strategy of an older boxer. If you look at somebody who's like nearing the end of their boxing career, they're going to be really evasive. Their younger competitors are going to get tired out, and then in the 3rd and 4th and 5th round, that's when they have a comeback, if there's going to be a comeback, right? Like that's what they do. Then there's the fun one. This is the kind that I like. And in Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll notice it with like, to me, it feels like, you know what? Here's the Yu-Gi-Oh example, Exodia.
Yeah.
So the next one here is combo. It's basically like you're relying on a very specific set of cards, right?
Yeah.
I have
Okay.
a certain set of cards. What about Liam Neeson? Yeah.
Shout out to Liam Neeson.
Yeah, thanks for listening, Liam. Mr. Neeson, sorry.
Yes, please.
But I don't want to. I don't mean to presume. Anyway, so you're trying to get this specific combination of cards, and once you get it, blam, you win. That's the idea.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it's about getting to those cards as fast as you can, but it's not about interacting with the other person's cards that much, right? Like that for example, in MMA.
Yeah.
All right. If you look at this in MMA, it's gonna be like, it's like a kickboxer.
Okay.
And a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt fighting each other without either one having ever cross-trained. The kickboxer is just going to try to beat up the other guy.
Yeah.
The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt is going to go for some specific move that's like, to the other person, just arcane and unknowable.
Right.
And if he gets knocked out on the way in, then he loses. But if he manages to stay, he'll eventually find the right position and get to that choke or whatever he's going for.
Right. Wow. You know, what's interesting about a strategy like that is it looks like you're not doing anything until you win.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. Like it, and that's a fun strategy.
But that's cool.
Right.
That's cool. It maybe it's not exciting to watch.
Well,
maybe it is. I don't know.
If you know what's coming, it can be exciting.
For people who know, that would be like if you or I watched an MMA match, and because we know what the techniques are and things like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think though, now there are combinations of these types too. Oh, and then mid-range, the fourth one is sort of like, it's, how do I describe it? It's sort of like control in the beginning of the game, and then it switches over to aggro. So it like stops the other person from aggroing you, and then you like hit them with some real tough creatures, which isn't very much like what control does. Control is more like just making it so the other person can't do anything, and strangling them out. What's a good? Let me think. What a good example of this is in fighting. Actually, that might be more like. Well, that's like as an MMA example, if you have 3 rounds and for the first 2 rounds, there's a bunch of grappling going on to get one person tired, right? Who's predominantly a grappler, and then the third round, someone who's predominantly a striker keeps it standing and just hits, and they just punch and kick and just knee the other person until they get a knockout. That's a similar kind of thing here. Now, why are we talking about these? Here's why. The other people in your party, or if you're the DM, your players each have a style.
Yeah.
If you look at their spells and you look at their class, like their whole build in general, they're gonna follow one of these.
Probably.
And you're gonna see it every time they're in combat, right? Like, let's talk about our own characters.
Okay. Yeah.
Saphed.
Yeah.
Aggro.
She's aggro.
Absolutely
aggro. Yeah.
Right?
She goes in guns blazing to every encounter.
Exactly. And that's really the best use for her.
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
she does a lot of
damage, especially if she can stack it up real quick.
Right.
Right? Like, she's not that good at a prolonged fight where she has to do like a little bit of damage here and there and here and there. She's just good at coming in and slamming one thing real hard, real quick. It's perfect.
That's what a monk is.
That's what a monk is.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
If you look at from the same campaign, if you look at Edward, he's gonna be more like control.
Yeah.
Or maybe mid-range, because he has some damage, but really he's more like a control character, right?
Well, that's
he has deafen, or blind/deafen. You know that spell.
Yep.
He's got
Debuffs,
counter spell. He has some debuffs. Yeah.
I didn't know he had counter spell. Did he use it?
He tried but missed.
Oh,
and then he used deafen instead.
That's right, because you never call out what spell you're doing unless it works.
I think that's how it should be.
No, you're right.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, you're right.
All right, because I think that, if you're like, I don't know, I feel like that's part of the spell casting fun is like...
Well, especially, I just want to say, especially because Saphed doesn't know anything about spells and doesn't want to.
Right.
She thinks magic is bad. Even though she has spells of her own, those are like innate things.
Yeah, those are just like a thing she can do. It's
right.
For her, it's less like casting a spell and more like thinking.
Yeah,
she's
like, I can do this.
It's like doing math.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like how doing math is for you. No, because math is such a learned thing, actually.
Yeah, it's more like blinking.
Yeah, yeah, it's like using a limb or something.
Or it's like maybe even more like a fight or flight response. It's
right.
Like it's something that she knows she can do. Yeah, yeah.
All right,
exactly.
Anyway.
Okay, whatever.
So yeah, Edward, he's got more of a control style where he just tries to like shut the other person down, and then he's got some stealth moves to help him get away too.
Those are
and things to make it so he's hard to hit, or make it so his party members are hard to hit, but mostly himself. So then Liam, he's got this definite mid-range feel where he can he's got to set himself up, he's got to get the cannon, he's got to get ready, and then he comes in like blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
but he can also switch over the cannon to be healing. Yes. In which case he's gonna go for more of that control. He actually kind of, to me, feels a little bit like the combo in certain situations.
He's very versatile.
I feel like the combo setup, the combo archetype, is gonna be one of the more rare ones in D&D. But you'll notice it with stuff like Dragon Slayer arrows or things like that, like Dragon Slaying ammunition, where you get it all working. You buff this dude on your team. Your ranger or whoever has the dragon slaying ammunition, and so they get a definite critical hit. They're going to be doing extra damage, and they fire at the dragon, it hits. Oh man, the damage is doubled and whatever, and so then you end up doing like 150 damage in one shot.
I think combo. The interesting thing about combo is that kind of style really only works or works the best when it's between two party members.
Yes, I think in D&D that's on purpose.
Yeah,
I think that's the design thing, is that they try not to give a character their own combo.
Yeah,
like sorry, not a character, but a class, like a class or a subclass or anything. They try not to give it its own combo, because then that's what combat will always be for the whole party. It will always be,
they'll combo with
we're going to go try to fight, and then this person's going to do their combo that kills everything. So it doesn't matter what we do.
Right. Though also, I will say that sometimes you can combine a race and a class together to sort of give yourself a combo.
You can get close. I mean, the way that Saphed...
Yeah, the way that I made Saphed was actually to do exactly that.
Right. So with the fairy fire, getting advantage... You're going to hit a lot.
All 25 of my attacks I get every round, Exactly. That, though I can only use Fairy Fire once a day, I think. The DC isn't very high, actually. And so far, every time I've remembered to use it, most creatures have saved, I think. So it hasn't been super useful yet, but the time it is, I'm going to feel real good about it.
It's going to be really good.
I'm going to feel really good about the one time it works.
Now, what I think you need to do is you got to look out for your party members and see where they can fit this in. Like which one of these they can fit into, because that's going to be how you can figure out what you should be doing in the middle of combat here, all right? Because if you see that your barbarian, for instance... they can rage, so they seem like an aggro type. I don't know if they're always necessarily aggro. They might be more like a mid-range. I feel like there's some... I don't know. Maybe you could tell me more. But some subclasses of barbarian, I feel like their whole deal is that they're really tanky and hard to take down.
Yes.
And so that to me seems like a good mid-range or control build.
Well, what I will say about barbarians in particular is that they really have to be aggro. Well, they don't have to be aggro, but they're tanky. They're tanky because when they're raging, bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage is halved only while they're raging. But also at lower levels, they'll lose their rage if they don't attack or take damage.
Okay.
They have to either attack something or take damage in order to keep their rage going.
Right.
So they don't really so basically they have to be constantly attacking or at the very least be under attack.
Okay. So we'll call that aggro.
So I think generally barbarians are aggro.
All right.
But I don't know everything about every subclass.
So you're a bard.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
And you've got a spell that will give your barbarian or give anybody +4 to hit, or sorry, plus a d4 to hit. You've got a spell that will give someone increased movement speed. All right. You've got a healing spell. All right. And you've got a damaging spell for a distance, of maybe 60 feet. And you've got a debuff spell for an enemy. What are we going to use? Right? And let's say that the debuff is that they get minus a d4 on
that's Bane.
Yeah. So what are we going to use here? Well, assuming your barbarian's the only one we're worried about right now.
Yeah.
I think you've got to do whatever supports the aggro the most, which in this case, I don't think it's going to be Bane.
Well, it depends on how many enemies there are.
It does a little bit, right?
If there's only one enemy, I think Bane might be okay.
That's true, because then everybody will benefit from that. So I would say, okay, we'll go with the enemy count. If there's one enemy, you should debuff that enemy.
If there are a lot of smaller enemies or just a lot of enemies in general, then buffing the barbarian is probably the best.
That's going to give you the highest damage output. And then what do you do your next turn? I'm going to say you probably increase the barbarian's movement speed.
Yeah, barbarians do get increased movement speed at certain levels too. And then if you increase that even more, oh boy.
Exactly. But they need to be jumping around from, well, and I guess this is if there are multiple enemies. So I guess I'm assuming for whatever reason that if there's only one, they kill it.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's the goal.
But it's because of your help as the bard.
Yes.
It's not that. Your barbarian's stupid. They can't do anything. I'm not talking about Marty. He's awesome.
Yes. In the campaign I run, we have a barbarian. His name's Marty. He's a turtle. He's a real nice guy. You'd love talking to you, the audience member. You'd love talking to Marty.
And he would love talking to you.
For
even
hours.
More.
Yeah, hours.
Yeah.
He'll talk to you forever. Yeah. Basically.
So he's not he's exempt from this judgment.
Yeah.
But let's say your barbarian just dumb. Anyway.
But not Marty.
Oh great. We have a guest star.
It's Basket.
It's the wrong guest star, guys.
Basket,
this one's
Basket forced her way.
It's Basket. Here, check her out. Look at this dog. Look at her right now.
She's dressed as a taco.
She is dressed as a taco. I kid you not. I have no idea how to convey this over audio.
Yeah.
But if you look at Basket, could you describe her in one word for me, please?
Taco.
If this was made up, we wouldn't have been able to do it that smoothly. We're not that good, guys. We're not that good. This is a real thing. I'm now taking her and removing her from... Actually, can you be quiet if you're in here, Basket? Okay, I'm going to put you down now and we'll see if you're quiet. There you go. Good girl. She wants to be on the show.
Very badly.
Anyway, all right. So, man, aggro, barbarian. Phew.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yes. Continue.
You're gonna increase his movement speed so he can run around. Boom, 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 boom.
Mhm.
You got to keep your healing spell in reserve. The healing spell is not for. It's not for you. It's for if the aggro is not the right game plan, and things went bad, right? Because you have to look at the situation too and decide one of these game plans. Basically, like, are you gonna rush in and deal a bunch of damage right away? Are you gonna go for control over the situation and just try not to get killed while they expend their energy? And that depends on the bad guys. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes they have limited spells and stuff, in which case, all right, let them use up their, or, hero actions or things like that. You wait for the right moment to strike. You don't just rush in against certain. I'm trying to think of who.
What kind of enemy you wouldn't want to just rush at?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of big monsters who are sort of almost like a good control or mid-range strategies.
I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, certainly the ones you don't want to rush at necessarily are any monsters that have some sort of AoE effect.
Yes.
You probably want to.
You want to disable that
Yeah,
if you can first.
Yeah, consider your
Right.
options.
Yeah.
Before you do that, for sure.
A lot of them can be disabled through status effects and things like that.
Sure.
Some of them you can't.
Some of them, maybe in that instance, for some of them, you might want to consider spreading everybody out, which is sometimes a good strategy anyway if the enemy has AoE attacks, like cones or blasts or things like that.
Yeah, you don't want everyone standing in the same spot against that. And then other times, I guess you really do sometimes. It depends, it just depends on the terrain in the back. Anyway, so yeah, you have to decide for the situation what you're going to be doing. Now, the problem is some characters are only built for one thing. So what do you do then? Right? Like, you're playing as a monk and you have to rush in and beat stuff up or else you're not really being useful. Well, first of all, I'll tell you one thing. Having no negative effect is useful.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Even if the only thing that happens is you take a little bit of damage because the enemy attacked you, well, they attacked you. They didn't attack somebody who's useful right now to make you feel worse about yourself. No, but seriously, right?
Yeah. That sort of happened with Paul's campaign because I went in punching, and every time I punched that ooze, I got a little bit of damage every time. I think it was a D6.
I was thinking with the troll too, though.
Or yeah, even with the troll.
With the troll, Saphed was going up and punching it, and it was distracted by Saphed, and the rest of us got around it.
That's true too. Yeah, I also was able to stun it.
Yeah,
a couple of times, which was
that helped.
Well, Saphed stunning the troll was what allowed you guys to get past it, I think, because then it didn't get attack of opportunity on you when you ran by. But then Saphed didn't run away. No, Saphed did run away. I don't remember what happened. Anyway.
Well, Edward didn't get past it either. He ended up being on the same side of the firewall.
Oh, okay.
He pushed it.
I just remember that Saphed ran back through the firewall.
Yes.
Again.
Was Edward the only one who didn't go through? I think so. He might have been too far back or something.
Or maybe he was too slow in the initiative order. Maybe the firewall went up before he was able to get through.
Something like that,
I don't know. Or didn't he run past and then run back? Somebody did.
Someone did.
Somebody ran across the bridge.
That was too long ago.
And then came back. Yeah, it was really long ago. So anyway, yeah.
Now, I want to ask about this. This is literally just off the top of my... Should we talk about combat more? Let me think.
We could, but...
Yeah, we could. Just focus on figuring out, are your party members focused on dealing a bunch of damage up front, or are they all about setting up big advantages in the long run and then play to your strengths? Like, don't try to go against your strengths all the time. If your party is set up a certain way, do it that way whenever it will work, and then start as you're picking new abilities and things, new spells and stuff over time, come up with a backup plan for when that strategy, when your DM is like, hey, I noticed you guys go real aggro here. I'm going to give you an aboleth and have fun fighting it underwater. And you're like, shoot, we got to get this thing out of the water so we can actually, or at least to the surface of the water where we almost stand a chance.
Yeah.
So then the whole first part of the fight is this prolonged, like, we're swimming away from this thing that's way faster and stronger than us.
Yeah.
It's still stronger than you out of the water. It's just not faster anymore.
Yeah, seriously. Well, the other thing to consider too, maybe look at your character's intelligence or wisdom. And maybe if one of those is low, decide not to think about any of those things.
Yeah. Oh, but do feel free to have your character still listen to other players.
Oh, of course.
Have talk to each other.
Yes.
And listen, especially listen to each other.
Yeah. That's I think that's important. And I think the character interaction in the game, because people would really do that.
Right.
They'd be like, okay, next time we're in a fight, you can do it in the session if you want, but those conversations don't have to happen in game always.
Yeah.
No, I think that, I think that it is on the burden of the smartest / wisest people in the party, though, to come up with most of the planning.
Yeah.
And then, of course, for all of those plans to get thrown out the window immediately.
When somebody charismatic tells you what to do instead.
Oh, there you go. That's right.
Then the strong one ignores it and just runs in. But the people who had high dexterity were already there or already left.
Great. D&D, everybody. So you had a thought. It came to you. Do you remember what it was?
No.
Great. Do you want to hear some homebrew?
Maybe I'll remember what it was later. Yeah, let's get some homebrew.
Okay, I'm going to talk about 3 things, but I'm only really going to briefly touch on one of them.
Wait.
Yeah.
Let's pause it for a second.
Okay.
I'm actually going to go figure out what it was. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
I remembered it. Oh my God, I remembered it.
Okay, all right. Well, let's hear it then.
This is actually hilarious.
Okay.
Because what...
Uh-oh.
No, the thing I forgot was how do you remember? How do you remember stuff?
The thing you forgot to say was how you remember stuff.
Yeah, I want to talk about how to remember stuff between campaign sessions.
Oh, okay. Okay, I have a perfect. I've got it.
Yeah,
I have the answer.
Yes.
Matt Colville taught me this.
Good. I love it. Matt Colville's the man. .com.
You have your players do it.
Right.
At the beginning of the session.
Yes, you've been yes, that's good.
No, that does a few things. It really though. It does a few things if the player, because if the DM recaps the session every time, I 100% agree with this.
First of all, skip cutscene.
First of all, okay.
That's what I feel like. I wish I had a controller connected to Discord and I could just be like skip, and like let everybody know.
All right, so
that would be obnoxious.
Here's how it works. So I was doing the recaps for the longest time because I watched Critical Role and I was like, Matt does it every time, and that must be the DM's job, and so I have to do it. No, that's a show.
Yes. That is a TV show on the computer.
Yes, that is a Twitch show.
Yes.
That is why he does the recap. He writes it down. Probably he writes it down. Possibly even somebody else writes it down for him. I don't know. But it's written down. You can watch him literally kind of read from it every once in a while. He always glances at it. The other
advantage they have is he can just watch the old episode.
Exactly.
He can just watch it and see word for word, second for second, exactly what did actually happen.
Right.
So that's number one, is
Uh-huh.
record your sessions in their entirety. You will remember everything.
Yeah.
And
You
you'll actually see stuff that you didn't the first time.
Yeah.
So that would
Mhm.
be pretty intense. If you have a character with high wisdom, that's how you role play them. You record the entire session and listen to it and watch it in between.
Which sounds like a lot of work. Maybe it is if it's a weekly session or something.
Yeah.
But we do every other week.
Yeah,
And-
every other week tops, I would say.
Yeah, tops. Yeah, seriously.
At least once a month, but every other week.
Yes. It has been about a month since our last session. Circumstantially,
Yeah. There's
there's a vacation going on. People were busy with stuff. But anyway.
Well, I would count the one shot as a pseudo session that fulfills the requirements of a session.
Yes. Yeah, but it wasn't like canon in the game that we're
Right.
playing. So
It just keeps everybody fresh and thinking about it.
thinking about D&D. Yeah, exactly. That way they're not like, where are all the rules again? But which could happen at any time anyway. But
Right.
anyway, so having the players though recap the session does a couple of things. Number one thing the DM will definitely do is put their bias in the recap.
Yes.
And which is bad for the players, because the players maybe thought like, hey, this was working out really well, and then the DM's like, you guys fumbled your way into the place, and like, and you guys were the players might think about a situation one way. You don't want to put your bias on the players as the DM, because at like all the stuff going on in the campaign, and you might accidentally say something that is going to push your players in like the quote unquote right direction, but maybe in the quote unquote wrong direction.
Yes.
You don't really want that. But two, but for the DM side of things, having the players do the recap does a lot of things. Number one, it gets the players thinking about the session,
right,
and it gets them ready to play.
Yep.
It gets them thinking about their characters. It gets them thinking about all that stuff. It really is a nice way to sort of transition into the game. And it lets you know, as the dungeon master, it informs you of the player's perspective of what happened, which can give you insight into what kind of game they want to play and what kinds of things they like, all that stuff. So you will inevitably, I thought about assigning it like having a rotation, and like a specific person has to do the recap every time.
But that's a negatory.
No,
right there.
because some people really just don't want to have anything to do with that.
Well, not only that, but
it puts pressure on them too.
I don't care about pressure on me, but
right.
No, what I think is, I love hearing the perspective of each different person.
Yes.
On what happened last time.
That's true too.
That because they clearly care about different things than I do, and that is so fun to listen to.
Yeah, to know.
Right.
Everybody in this game is so different, the way they think about things.
Yes.
Which is great. It really is good. And then, I was going to say too that you'll allow everybody to sort of put in their input, and then there's going to be that one person who just kind of does it every time mostly. And then everybody else fills in the gaps.
So the other thing about that I like is a thing. We're going to talk about my favorite book today, Ultra Learning by Scott H. Young. It is literally always here with me.
Yes, he has it in his hands right now.
I'm holding it right now.
I watched him pick it up.
I don't think I'm like allowed to read any of it on air, so I'm not going to.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you what the fifth principle of ultra learning is, which is retrieval.
Okay.
Part of learning is going back and getting the knowledge back into the front of your mind. Back into the front of your mind.
Yeah.
I like the way I said that.
Yeah, getting the knowledge back into the front of your mind. Absolutely.
Yes. Active recall is one of the best methods of doing that. And seriously, you should read this book if you care about learning, which most things are. Most things are a type of learning. A D&D session is learning the story of what happens to your characters, right? And it's learning it through mechanical means, dice rolls and stuff, through storytelling, through role playing, through, I don't know, maybe making a sundae, whatever, dude.
Bipping and bopping.
Bipping and bopping.
People throw little active physical mini games in their sessions sometimes.
We should dude. Let's get some toss across going,
dude. I will tell you. I'm just going to divulge some information. I have planned on doing that many times. Then we went into quarantine.
Then quarantine. Yeah.
So it wasn't happening, but
we'll make it happen.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. I'd love to put more physical, like actually interactive things in the sessions. Anyway, yes.
So that's a good thing. Now, what about in between the sessions when like today, I'm a month out from the last Cataclysmic Rift session.
Yeah.
And I'm still a couple weeks from the next one. I don't know when the next one is. Is it Saturday?
Yeah. Did I not tell you that? Yes, it's this Saturday.
Okay, well, so I'm a couple days from the next one. So what does this me right here in front of you do to remember stuff about this session? I could ask somebody. That's all I got though, huh?
Well,
so what should I have done? I should have taken notes, but I did take notes. I could look at them now. Not right. I'm not going to do it right now. I'm on air.
Well, we have a player who does take very, very solid notes.
You're talking about me?
And no, I'm not talking about you. And her notes.
No, I prefer he.
Were shared. Not you.
Oh.
Her notes were shared. With the Google Drive. Were you not on Google Drive? Did she not share that with you?
I don't know. I didn't look. Her notes are too good. I can't use them.
They're very in depth.
They're too much. They're too much of all the full detail of everything, and I just want what Liam cares about.
What Liam remembers and knows.
Yeah, that's and then the stuff that I think is funny.
Well,
that's all my notes are. It's the stuff Liam cares about, and then what I think is good, like what I think is funny. Actually, is it? I'm gonna get
real with you for a second. Can I get real?
Yeah.
I feel like, okay. So I've been a bad DM in a way because I said from the beginning of the session that I was going to be very active with every player. I was going to be asking you guys questions. I was going to be asking questions to help direct your mind into your character, be introspective, get into the role playing. I would challenge you on things. Like if you made decisions in the game, I would be like, I said I was going to call you out and be like, okay, your character made this decision. We're not going to retcon it. I want you to come up with a reason why they made that decision. All that stuff. I haven't done that since like session 1 at all.
Yeah.
And it's because of a personality flaw of mine where I sort of shut down if I get any sort of negative feedback from anybody. And there have been instances where I felt like some players were not completely engaged with the game. And I've heard things about basket, stop. I've heard things about how people don't want to think about the game when we're not playing it.
Right.
Like I've heard that. It's all been secondhand though. Like I heard that from somebody, whatever. And nobody's trying to I don't want to make this sound like people are just talking behind each other's back. Everybody just wants the game to be fun.
Yep.
I do too, believe it or not.
Guys, basket is gone.
Basket left.
Oh yeah, party time.
No more taco.
All right, sorry.
No, it's fine. I felt like, oh man, these people don't want to engage with, they don't want to think about the sessions when we're not having the session, like all this stuff. So I just stopped doing it with everybody because I was like, well, I don't want to do it with just the people who want it. That's not fair.
Right.
But I want to do it with everybody, but I want to bother this person.
Okay. I think I see where this is going.
Okay.
Because it is fair. It's fair in the same way that if somebody asks for vanilla ice cream and someone asks for chocolate ice cream, giving them both vanilla is not fair.
Yeah. No,
right?
you're right. Well,
And if somebody has a cut on their knee and somebody has a cut on their elbow, putting the Band-Aid on both people's elbows is not fair.
No, you're right. You're right. You're 100% right with that. I'm admitting that it was bad. It was a mistake.
Bad is
it was
relative at best.
It wasn't bad. It
Like
was
you can't even. That's hard. It's hard to declare the whole thing as being bad.
I get a little harsh on myself sometimes, but seriously though, well, the thing is that the players that are the most engaged in the story always approach me with things all the time.
Right.
All the time they do.
Right.
They always want to interact with other characters outside of the game. I've had so much of that, which is great, and I love that. You know, I will engage with the game at any time. Really, like I'll talk to anybody about the game at any time. Obviously, I've got a lot of investment in it.
Right.
You know, time and preparation and everything.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing exists inside of you.
Yeah.
Like we have parts of it, but like the game itself, it's in one place, right?
And really, nobody else could ever run it because the way that I operate, I've written things down, but nobody would ever be able to look at what I have written down and make any sense of it.
Right.
So
which is great.
Yeah, which is fine because I'm the only one who really needs to know.
Yeah. Until you die.
Yes. Well, I mean, you know.
Then one of us has to keep going, but we'll vote.
That'll be soon. It'll be in my will. So you guys don't have to worry about it.
Oh, okay.
It's a fight to the death, though. And then you'll have to find a new player group because everybody else will be dead. No, I'm glad I brought that up, though, because now I'm going to do that again. I hope.
Yeah.
Engage with people more. Because it helps.
Yeah, it does. Because I think, you have to really be careful to make sure that you're catering to what each player likes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I guess you don't have to be that careful. You could always be like, you don't like the same thing as the rest of this group. Just don't play this campaign with us.
Yes.
I mean, that's an option.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's especially an option if you know a lot of people play D&D. If you're just playing with your same friend group and you don't want to exclude people, then you might have to work a little harder at it, which is that's righteous. That's a worthy aim, right? Like, be like making sure that, because it's not like you have to cater to every possible need. It's just a limited set. It's still hard. Maybe insurmountable. It could be impossible.
Yeah.
But you can still try, and that's cool.
I think that, I don't know, because I think that there's a balance of, so first of all, if you're playing a game of D&D and everybody else is having fun, but you don't feel like you are, that does not mean that there's anything wrong with you. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the other people playing the game.
It doesn't mean that there is. There could be something wrong with you.
Well, there could, but that's
D&D is not a diagnostic tool for that.
No. Yeah, well, right. Don't use D&D to figure out if there's something wrong with you.
Right.
There is, but don't use D&D to figure that out.
If there actually is something wrong with you, we're not talking to you.
No. Only if there isn't, then we are talking to you.
Yeah, now you know. There is.
And now you know that there is. So, right. So there's that. But I think that because I think it's tough because we're all pretty good friends. And I think there's also a little bit of FOMO in there,
Yes.
Like some people don't want to miss out.
Well, all right. We will talk about this. We should cut off this topic, I think.
Yeah, we should.
But we'll talk about it more later because there's a specific blog post that I want to reference here for people later. By Tim Urban, Wait But Why, called The Long Tail. And it's going to make you cry. So we'll get to there maybe next time, my babies.
That is really not too difficult. So It probably will.
It will.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine with me.
So anyway, actually, my sister asked me, like, I was reading it in a Cracker Barrel on the way home from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister asked me, like, what I was reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and she was like, is it about death? And I was like, yeah.
Your sister does not.
She does not like death.
She doesn't like thinking about death.
That's a big no-go for her.
Nope.
Anyway, this article was all about it. Like, it literally started with, you're going to die. Anyway.
Sure.
But I think it's a good one
get there,
for this
Great.
topic. Let's talk about some brewskis.
Oh.
You got some good homebrew for us, baby?
Some good ones? I don't know, but I have some. No, these ones are good. I'm just going down the list here.
Let's do it like this today. Hit me with both. Just go 1, 2. It's this.
Okay, there are 3 because I'm just gonna mention the one briefly.
Okay.
We might have a conversation about it, but I don't want to get in depth because it's too much.
Okay.
Okay, but here's all 3 of them.
Okay.
Magical item, Dogstaff.
I don't know what that is. All right.
Entire system based on Hollow Knight.
Wow. Man, you guys putting in the work out there.
It's really cool. And then a spell called Zargon's Instant Replay.
I like the name of this.
Yeah.
First of all, I love spells with a person's name in it.
Me too.
I love that.
Oh, man.
That is such... Oh, it's so good.
Just you wait, man. Can I spoil something for you about the campaign I have?
Well, you're going to be spoiling it for everybody in the campaign who listens to this, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
I have a...
Wait, does Acacia's Ludo have a spell named after him yet?
No comment. I have a homebrew section of D&D Beyond that has over 60 things in it. And
I think I see where this might be kind of going.
You've only encountered probably 5 or 6 of them. Some of them are monsters.
Some of them, yeah.
And some of them, yeah. So some of them are magic items.
Mm-hmm.
You have one, or some, I don't know. You have a few.
Yeah.
No, you have more than one. But
and I have flippers too. Those are important.
the flippers are important.
Actually, I think I have them back.
That's a long story, man. The flippers. Let's not talk about the flippers.
Okay.
So anyway, there may be a few that have names in them. So you're gonna like those ones.
I love that.
You're gonna like those ones. But let me start with the Dogstaff.
Yes.
Okay. This one's really simple.
Is it very literal?
Yes. No.
Okay.
Yes,
I think its head it's a staff with the head of a dog and it bites people.
Really close.
Yes.
Really close.
Okay.
So it's a staff. Actually, if you look at the picture, the head and the bottom of the dog are both on it.
All right.
Which is great.
I love that.
So it's infused with the spirits of loyal dogs.
If you throw it, it comes back to you.
It's a magic quarterstaff, +2 to attack and damage rolls. So it's a +2.
You hit people with the dog?
Yes. You hit people with the dog.
Is it? Okay, keep going.
It can translate your words into dog speech when talking to dogs. And you can only wield it if you are a true dog lover, as determined by your dungeon master.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my god. That's great.
It's very rare. It requires attunement.
Now that's some character building stuff right there.
By a dog lover.
That tells you a lot about somebody.
Okay, there's a YouTuber. I guess I'll plug. I'll say who they are.
Oh, dude. Yeah, we're going to boost that channel up right now.
Sure.
Everybody, let's tune into this YouTuber. It's
Ginny D.
Oh, yeah.
You might know Ginny
I've heard
D.
of this. Yeah.
Yeah, she's
come up on my recommended. I don't know if I've watched her videos, probably 1 or 2 of them.
I've watched not very many, but she had one that I thought was interesting. It was just it was literally what I was talking about earlier. It was a list of questions to ask your players.
Do your characters like dogs?
To help them get in their character. And that was one of them. Yeah. Is your character a dog person or a cat person, right?
Yeah, I gotta look this one up.
Okay, figuring out for Liam. Here, I'll talk more about this Dogstaff while you do that. It has 4 different properties, things it can do. The first one's called.
Yes.
He has 2 dogs.
Don't say.
I
their
will
names,
not say
though.
their
That'll
names.
give it away.
Don't worry, but those are awesome names, by the way.
Especially for what they look like.
Oh, that's amazing.
They're both named after food.
Yes, that's
And I love. Okay, so I love pet names that are based on food.
okay.
Because then if you eat the pet, you can say, "Oh, I just ate calamari."
Yeah.
That's the name of my parents' cat, who's Calico. And so everyone calls her Callie, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's cute. She's a calico cat, and her name's Callie." But no, it's short for calamari.
I never knew that.
Yes.
Your sister talked about Callie all the time, but
Yeah.
I didn't know it was short for calamari.
Yeah, that's because I named her.
Nice. And that's why
Yeah,
everybody calls her Callie.
You can eat them in times of dire need, and nobody's going to be like, they're going to be like, "Really? Where'd you find calamari?" They're not going to be like, "Oh, you ate your cat? What the? That's screwed up." Anyway.
Okay, first property, good boy. The Dogstaff functions as a weapon of warning. If you're not familiar, a weapon of warning means that you can't be surprised. So even if you're sleeping.
So it's like Watchdog Man's power.
Yes.
He always sees everything that happens in the city.
Yes.
In Z City. Yeah.
Well, sort of. So if you're sleeping or something and somebody comes to assassinate you, it'll like bark at them. So you're like, then you're not surprised. So you roll initiative as normal, right?
I think Sting from Lord of the Rings works the same way.
Yes.
Like in D&D, it would mechanically function the same way.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Exactly. Pack leader. Dogs are always friendly toward you, and you can cast Speak with Animals, command an animal friendship at will on dogs.
Whoa! Can you pet the dogs?
Of course you can pet the dogs. D&D is on that list of games where you can pet the dog.
All right.
Of course.
Moving on.
Fetch. You can cast Locate Object and Locate Creature once each. You can't do so again until the next dawn.
Okay, once per day though. I'll take that.
Yeah, those are useful spells.
If you throw this quarterstaff,
okay,
can any does it force any dog or canid creature to bring it to you?
Well,
magically,
considering that you can actually speak to dogs,
yeah,
and you can cast a lot of, you can innately cast all of these dog-related spells on them, I would say yes.
Okay, that sounds fair to me. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted it to do.
You can cast Polymorph on yourself to turn into a dog.
There it is.
Once per dawn.
I love it.
As well.
I love it.
Yes.
That's so fun. So yeah, maybe actually using it in combat, it seems pretty good for a quarterstaff, first of all.
Yeah, +2 is pretty good.
I'll take a +2.
This user, by the way, was Catalyst. Catilus.
Catalyst. That has a nice ring to it.
It's strange for this dog quarterstaff to be from Catalyst, but that's okay.
Hey, everybody's got their names. Anyway, so.
Well, I just want to shout out. This Hollow Knight thing, really cool. I mean, you can see this is like 17 pages of stuff in it. It goes really. The art's really good.
Yeah.
It goes really deep. Like if you like the game Hollow Knight, or even if you don't, this is really cool, worth checking out. It's from user Pimplup XD.
I like that name.
But I just wanted to mention it because it was so cool. But I'm not going to get into it.
Okay.
Anyway, did you have anything else about the Dogstaff
though? No, I think it's time. Is it Zargon's instant replay?
Zargon's instant replay. Okay.
Is it a time manipulation spell?
Those are my favorite.
I love them.
I love time manipulation spells.
Because it's a game. Time is a game rule, and you don't think about that as that often in D&D,
right?
But it is.
Yeah,
it's a game rule.
The only real like time manipulation spell in D&D at the moment, like really, is Time Stop.
Yeah,
which is a 9th level spell. Like who's ever going to cast that? So I like the idea of time manipulation things at lower levels is cool.
Yes.
Obviously, they can't be too good, but you know. Well, let's look. So it's a 3rd level enchantment, Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. Casting time 1 action, range 60 feet, duration instantaneous, verbal somatic components.
Okay.
No material. Interesting. Okay. So you can point at a creature that you can see within the 60 feet of you, and you can. Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember what this is now. I didn't remember exactly what this was, but I do now. You shout something to the effect of, "Do it again, I wasn't looking."
Okay.
The creature must succeed a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC.
Mm-hmm.
On a success, nothing happens. So if they succeed, nothing.
Right.
On a failure, the creature must perform the same action on their next turn of combat as they did on their previous turn.
Ooh. Okay, so it's not really time manipulation exactly, but it's...
No.
Yeah, but it
just makes them do the same thing again that they did before. Which is a really cool idea. Well, this is towing the line, I think, between like the funny thing and the cool thing.
Yeah.
Which is those are the best ones we've found.
Yes.
So far. But it
talking about you, banana phone. All
yeah.
Right, anyway.
Yeah. I'm talking about slippery condition, man. Slippery condition was awesome. By the way, definitely introducing Squib and Slippery into our campaign. More on that later. But those.
Did you just say moron? Hey,
I did.
Did you just say moron?
I called you a moron. Anyway, that's a failure.
It's late, guys.
So a dash action must dash the same number of feet. So like if you used your action to dash, you have to dash the same amount. And I think it says no. It doesn't say in the same direction though. But I would imagine it would have to be in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
How cool would that be to use that to make somebody run into a wall?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be off fun. A cliff.
Off a cliff, even better.
In front of a moving train, if your setting has those.
Sure. In front of a moving anything, really.
Yeah.
Boulder. Into lava? Oh,
into lava.
There we go.
Yeah. Or so what onto a banana peel?
Oh.
Or some ice?
Slippery condition.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
So what if what if their action was like to turn a quarter and then attack? This turn, do they have to turn and attack this way, or do they just hit the same place?
Well, okay,
I don't think turning counts as anything. Right?
That's sort of like movement to me, and this only affects their action.
You're right.
That they took.
True. Okay. Oh, so can they move differently?
Based on the way, again.
Yeah.
We're talking raw here.
Yeah.
Rules as written. It says the creature must perform the same action on their next turn of combat as they did on their previous turn. To me, that means that they probably can still choose when to do that action.
Yeah.
Like before or after their movement.
Yeah.
They can still do their bonus action, you know?
Yep.
So all that stuff is the same. Or all that stuff can be done still. They just have to do the same action.
So that to me feels like actually that is a Pokemon technique.
Is it?
Yeah, Encore. It makes them use the same move again.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's literally the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
As far as that, like it translated to Pokemon, there's no movement or anything like that.
Right.
But that to me like is a thing that NPCs would use on me when I was playing as a kid, and I would be like, perfect. If my attack didn't beat you the first time, I was gonna use it again, and I was gonna use it on the rest of your party. Now that I actually understand how to use strategy and plan stuff out and make that kind of thing useful, I see how cool it is. But I guess what I'm saying is the kid in me is not impressed.
Think about this.
But that's why he doesn't play D&D. I do.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Here's the really cool thing that this is what I imagine this would be used for.
Mm-hmm.
It says a bunch of other stuff before this, but that's not important. Casting a spell. If they cast a spell, they must cast the same spell at the same target, whether the target was a creature or a point. Which means that if they cast a spell at a certain point, they have to cast that same spell at the same point. This is a spell slot destroyer.
And you could get them to hit themselves.
You could.
You might be able to do that. It depends on what spell they're using, but like, I could see a setup where somebody casts Zargon's instant replay, another character binds them, and a third character tows them into place, and they hit themselves with a spell on when it gets back to their action.
Yeah,
I mean there we go, combo.
That's a combo move for sure.
That's a combo.
An attack action must be the same at the same target. If the action cannot be performed, the creature mimics the motions taken on the last turn instead as their action. So if they literally can't do what they did before, and that includes like if they used a magic item or something.
Yeah.
Then
or if it was their last spell slot.
Yeah. Then they literally do the same thing that they did, but nothing happens.
Yeah. And then do you cast Vicious Mockery on them when nothing happens? Be like, what? That's all I missed? Oh, you're so lame.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Sure. Whatever floats your boat, man.
That's what I would do.
You can cast Vicious Mockery whenever you please.
Can I?
As long as you have it prepared.
What's
a cantrip? I guess you don't prepare those.
No, yeah. You just learn it, then you're stuck with it forever.
Forever.
You didn't think ahead of your character build, and now you're just stuck with.
You're just like
Vicious Mockery.
You're like, I'm a bard. Of course, I have Vicious Mockery. Yeah.
That's what I always run into with cantrips. I'm like, oh, you know what? This one would have been cool.
Yeah. You know what? Oh, and this one was from user Pokeyman 1211.
The
Pokeyman.
I love the usernames, guys. I do. I like all usernames. I'm just a username kind of guy.
I think I'm a little disappointed that their username isn't Zargon. But that's just me.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Just real quick. Last thing, guys.
Sure.
I love when there's an implied history of a spell like that. When like it's got a name in it and you're like, oh, well, who's that person? Why is the spell named after them? That means that this spell didn't exist and they invented it? Or did they just were they the one who popularized it? And like similar thing, skateboarding tricks. Do you know something that has been called the mute grab for, I don't know, 20-something years? Has just been renamed. It's just been renamed the Weddle grab. Because I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Weddle, the skateboarder.
Sure.
I'm sorry, man. I'll put it in the show notes. He's not listening to this, though, because he's deaf.
Oh.
And the grab was named after him in the first place, but they named it mute instead of deaf. Deaf grab does sound super lame, and the word mute sounds kind of cool as a word. So I get it. Skateboarders are about the aesthetic, and yeah, okay. But it's also a little bit like a little insulting because other people have tricks named after them and not the fact they can't hear.
Yeah.
Or something, Can
I just say real fast?
I think it's Chris Weddle, by the way. I'm not sure though. I'm gonna look it up after this. I swear. Yeah.
I just want to say that, like, me as a kid would have thought the name Deaf Grab would have been awesome because I couldn't hear the difference between deaf and death. When I was little, I thought they were the same thing. So I would have been, oh man, it's so cool. It's the Death Grab.
Death Grab.
What? How many people have died doing that one? Probably a lot. It's called the Death Grab. Anyway.
Yeah, so it's been renamed since the newest, the remakes of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 came out. They changed it in there, and I think there was a conversation around the same time with actual skateboarders I'm not saying Tony Hawk isn't one. I'm just saying that the game is virtual. But
Yeah.
I think actual skateboarders have been just starting to call it the Weddle Grab at the same time.
I mean, Tony Hawk is virtually a skateboarder.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, this isn't really related, but sort of. Sometimes renaming something seems weird, but sometimes I think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
My personal favorite is a couple of years ago, and probably a lot more than that now, but a while ago, and I don't know if you know this or not, and clearly not everybody does, but a while ago it was sort of collectively decided by like the filmmaking community that there were no like actors and actresses. Everybody was just an actor.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, why put gender on it at all? It doesn't matter. They're all just actors, right? And I don't think that everybody subscribes to that or anything. Like, not everybody considers that to be proper terminology. But I always refer to anybody who is in the profession of acting an actor, personally. So
the only there's no legitimate argument, I think, against that particular one or anything. Like,
Probably not.
I don't see any reason why it matters, because who's an actor anyway? I've never even heard of any. But
yeah, now that you say that, I can't name any off the top of my head.
I don't know any. They're not like special people or something.
Yeah.
But
that's like name a electrician.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I can't.
Yeah, I didn't.
Thomas Edison?
I don't want to insult any electricians.
Is he an actor? Whatever. But no. So the only thing I could think of is like it gets rid of the like historical connection of the word, by which I mean, for instance, the plural of octopus should be, what is it? Octopody, I think. Octopody would be the Greek like way to pluralize that word.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that I think it's cool to know that stuff. I like that. I love etymology.
I'm very interested in it as well.
And so I don't like getting rid of interesting etymological details, but I think it should just be an optional thing. Like, the word actress still means actress, but actor is just both. I like that. That's kind of like the way that they do it in Chinese. Like, if you say ta, that's he or she or they. Like, literally, you can't tell what I mean if you just hear it. And if you write it down, it's given a specific gender to it. But then when you say ta, that's pluralizing it. If it's just like random group, doesn't matter genders, then you just use the male one and written, but it all still sounds the exact same. It's like it's the same word.
Yeah.
Right. You're just saying whoever, and then you could throw in the extra bit of information if you care about it. If it's all girl, if it happens to be all girls in the group, you could be like, okay, I'll write this down as a group of girls.
Well, I think that just gendering things is a very Western. It's a Roman thing, really, or a Latin thing. I mean,
well, so the concept of gender and language. Oh, it's also Anglo. It's also
not Latin maybe, but it's in a lot of Romance languages.
It's probably
like Spanish,
Proto-Indo-European. Something maybe.
Yeah, Spanish genders everything. Italian does too, right?
Yeah. And really though, the grammatical term gender just means literally categories. So there are languages. I think the highest any language has is 4. So it's not male, female, neuter, fourth. It's like 4 separate categories of thing. And I think I can't. So this is just off the top of my head. You can call me out on this one because it's not right. I think I heard about this from Artifexian, who is an amazing world builder YouTube guy.
Okay.
The language that has 4 different genders, it's not like, I think they might be male, female, neuter, and then something else. But I think that some things that are like in English are male and female, like man and woman, are actually the same gender in that one, and like it doesn't split up the way that you would think.
So it's categorized in a way that like our perspective and understanding based on our language and culture, we wouldn't really be able to understand unless we really researched it.
Yeah, basically, I'm for including grammatical gender just for fun, if you like, optionally, if you want to have it. I'm for that.
Sure.
And then like sexual gender. What is it? How do you even call it? Like, what do you even that gender?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm you know, I live how you want to live.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, right. I mean, I'm not saying that everything has. Oh, I guess I am saying the opposite of that. That everything has to be gendered. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me too much.
Yeah.
I guess we're kind of on the same page there. That both are good.
Aren't we all on the same page though? Really, like truly.
I like what you said. That's kind of. I used to like think lesser of people or like make fun of people if they like said something grammatically incorrect or something like that. But then I realized at some point, like, why does it matter? You know,
unless you're using the grammar for something,
yeah,
it doesn't matter, right?
No, I mean,
and if you are, it's just so like grammar is just for redundancy. Really.
Yeah.
It's just so you know which information to expect when, so you can turn off your ears as long as possible when listening to
so
somebody.
You don't have to think. Yeah.
So yeah. And that's kind of what, like, I don't know if you've. Ooh, I don't want to run this one over too much, but we'll go for a couple. We'll go for a little bit more.
It's fine. Yeah.
We'll fade out if we need to. Whatever.
Sure.
So Shakespeare, in one of his plays, says, or has a character say the words "verdant green hills." That's redundant.
Yeah.
But it hits different people in the audience. Back then, verdant, that's going to hit the people who speak French, right? That's a Latin root word, right? And then green is a more common Anglo root word, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to hit like two different groups of people differently, but it gets them both. They both understand that phrase perfectly well. You would hear that and be like, nothing. It just sounds like green hills. You just understand it. But he like geniusly made it so both people get it. That kind of redundancy is something that I use when necessary. I don't actually, like, in written communication, especially in writing.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of redundancy. I follow this drunken white method of omit needless things. Omit needless things. Omit needless things. But he writes it 3 times for a reason.
You know, yes. That's all I'm going to say to that. No, yes, I agree. Omit. By the way, do you guys like that we actually made this a linguistics podcast?
We did it.
Anyway.
It only took us 7 episodes, but we are here, guys. We're home. Oh my gosh, this was a long journey, but we
finally made it. So, yes. And that's the interesting thing about Shakespeare. Because most people experience Shakespeare in its written form because they study it in school.
Yep.
But that's meant to be experienced as a play.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to be acted out.
Yep.
So it's not really the written form. It's a script, you know? So yeah, like you said, verdant green hills is important because you need to get that information into people.
Yep.
And actually, yeah, I personally really need a lot of redundancy in my media because I miss a lot.
If every syllable is important, you're gonna miss a lot of information. In fact,
yeah.
So you can look at different. What are those called? I learned about this in college. So the algorithms that are used to encode information in such a way that it prevents data loss if there's a loss of part of your signal. I don't remember. I like literally just watched a YouTube video about this a month ago or something too. And I had a whole section of a class about it. Two classes actually.
You're not alone in that, though.
Yeah.
I've learned so many things in my life multiple times that are I took 2 calculus classes, one in high school, one in college. I don't know calculus.
I can still do some calculus. I'm not great at it anymore.
If I brushed up on it, if you gave me 20 minutes to kind of like look over it again, I could probably remember most of it, but
yeah,
no, it's mostly gone.
Yeah, I guess I should probably figure it out because Liam's gonna need it soon.
Well,
yeah,
he's
gonna be using it, I'm sure.
Well, with what he's doing, yes, you're right, he will.
That's it. We did it.
That's the podcast.
We're done.